Good evening, Eswatini, and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondabego Nzapgelogo. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The European Union has donated over 46 million emalangeni to the Kingdom of Eswatini. The Eswatini Schools Wireless Broadband project has been officially launched. The Minister of Natural Resources says it is pleasing that schools in the Shiselweni region have ticked all the boxes in the COVID-19 compliance checklist. And now for the news. The European Union has donated 46.6 million emalangeni, which will be used to provide food aid to 230,000 households over a period of 8 months. The money was presented to the Prime Minister, Ambrose Dlamini, by the European Ambassador to the Kingdom, Her Excellency Esmeralda Hernandez Aragones.
In April this year, the European Union presented a check of 1.2 million emalangeni to the Ministry of Agriculture to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 in the agricultural sector. 2 months later, the European Union has presented an additional 46.6 million emalangeni, which is equivalent to 2.4 million euros towards humanitarian assistance to the Kingdom of Eswatini as part of the COVID-19 response. The money was handed over to the Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini by the European Ambassador to the Kingdom of Eswatini, Her Excellency Esmeralda Hernandez Aragones.
With this project, when this project is implemented, it will run for next 8 months till March 2021, and it's earmarked to reach out to approximately 230,000 households, and will involve cash-based transfers as well as provision of food parcels to the most food-insecure populations in all 4 regions of the country.
The Prime Minister says to date, government has assisted over 300,000 Emaswati with food aid, and such support is much appreciated.
Honor for me, on behalf of His Majesty King Mswati III, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, and the entire nation to receive this humanitarian assistance from the EU, which will go a long way in helping the kingdom mitigate the effects of COVID-19. It is important to inform the nation that the EU assistance will be channeled through Bapalali, Eswatini Red Cross, and the World Food Programme. I think that's important to emphasize that the money is not coming directly to government, but it is coming to the nation and will be provided through these 2 very important organizations that we have been working with in our food assistance program as government.
The Prime Minister beseeched the EU to support the country's COVID-19 post-recovery strategy. He says the Kingdom is looking forward to the new agreement between the EU, the African Union, and countries from the Caribbean and Pacific. For Eswatini TV News, I am Linton Kule in Babane.
Acting Minister for Information, Communication and Technology, Mangoba Khumalo, has officially launched the Eswatini Schools Wireless Broadband project that will provide wireless internet to schools, healthcare facilities and Tinkundla centers in the country. The event was held at the Royal Villas in Zulwini.
Eswatini Schools Wireless Broadband project, which will be used in schools, healthcare centers and Tinkundla centers, will help provide wireless internet in rural communities, especially during the trying times of COVID-19 pandemic. The Acting Minister for Information, Communications and Technology, Mangoba Khumalo, says this project was made possible by a funding from the International Telecommunications Union with amount of 13.4 million emalangeni.
During the year 2015, the Ministry of ICT signed an agreement with the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, for a project to provide broadband wireless internet to schools in the rural areas, which will be provided free of charge to the schools. The ministry then tasked EPTC to work with ITU to implement this project for the benefit of our learners. This project has been funded by the ITU to the tune of $800,000, which is about 13.4 million in Malangeni. EPTC will use these funds to roll out a wireless last mile internet to the intended targets.
Eswatini Post and Telecommunications Managing Director Petros Lamini says this project will develop the communications backbone for the country.
We need to coordinate and redouble our efforts to connect everyone to the global digital economy, and that for those connected, more must be done to ensure that connected life is safe and trustworthy.
Eswatini Communications Commission's Acting Chief Executive Officer Mbongeni Mjali says this project will enhance the use of internet and technology, especially in rural areas countrywide. The project will benefit 100 schools, 40 health centers and 20 Tinkhundla centers. Reporting, Amzoto Atlamini with Muzum Konda in Ezulwini.
And now we will take a look at the COVID-19 update from the Ministry of Health. The country now has 1,489 confirmed cases of COVID-19. This follows that the Ministry of Health has reported 55 new cases of COVID-19. According to a statement issued by the Ministry of Health, a total of 435 results were received today, out of which 55 tested positive. The report states that there are 690 active cases, 724 have recovered from COVID-19, 20 are deceased, and 55 have been registered for care. Looking at the cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases by region, Manzini has 767 cases, Hoho has 472 cases, Shiselweni has 130 cases, and the Lubombo region has 120 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Let's continue with the news. The Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, says he was pleased to find that schools in Lavumisa in the Shiselweni region have ticked all the boxes on the compliance checklist for schools opening during COVID-19. Minister Bembe said this when inspecting schools in the Lowveld of the region.
On the 1st and 2nd of this month, the Minister of Natural Resources inspected 9 schools in the Shiselweni region for COVID-19 regulations compliance. Minister Bembe was inspecting if schools have ticked all the boxes on the compliance checklist for schools opening COVID-19 in preparations for the reopening of the Form 5s. Minister Bembe said almost all the schools he inspected were ready to welcome back the Form 5s. Form 5 classes resumed on the 6th of this month. On Wednesday, Minister Bembe visited 4 schools in Lavumisa to check if they comply with the COVID-19 regulations for schools opening.
We would like to say that our visit to this area was specifically to look at the most rural places and the most places that are having difficulties in getting resources, in getting things like the utilities, like water supply. So when we came to Lulageni, we found that they have tried as much as they could. They have water for cleaning hands, they've got sanitizers, and in the manner in which they've arranged everything, it meets the standards that we were looking for. Children are at school, we visited the classes, learning is proceeding, is continuing very, very well.
Schools that were inspected by the minister include Elulageni, Ndunaitini High Schools, to name a few. Minister Bembe hopes that this year's result will be good. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Smuvashongwe, Elulageni.
The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, country office in Eswatini, has officially launched a new program which offers a mobile family planning clinic and other sexual health reproductive services to women in different parts of the country. This program was unveiled at Far East Textile Factory at Matapa Industrial Site.
The outbreak of COVID-19 has presented a fresh set of challenges to women in different areas across the country, one of which is the lack of access to family planning and other sexual health and reproductive services. United Nations Population Fund officer in charge Margaret Twala says it is against this backdrop that her organization found it important to bring such critical services closer to the women by taking a mobile family planning clinic to the women, as the dynamics that have come about as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. One of which was the partial lockdown resulted in women failing to get such services.
Sibuke kakhulu lesifundza sakaManzini sakhanza ukuthi about 47% walala basha ngathi bomake nemantombazana ladzinga kuhlalisa umndeni akakhona ukuthola lo sito lolo.
She says in most areas where this service is being offered, UNFPA conducted a SNAP survey which indicated the agent's need for interventions, hence the doorstep service. Far East Garments Factory Director Tokiho says as an employer, she realized that many of the women working in her factory need the kind of assistance that UNFPA has brought about.
So bonakele ukuthi vele tidzingo letifana nekusitakala kuhlela umndeni nekusitakala.
It goes without saying that most of the women working at Far East Garments need help with contraceptives, family planning, and general advice on gender-based violence.
Takasile Bembe, who works at Far East Garments, says many women like herself working at the textile factories truly appreciate the family planning services being brought to their doorstep. The United Nations Population Fund officer in charge promised that the provision of mobile clinic services at Matapa industrial sites will not be a once-off arrangement. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengwen Ndlovu Mbongwa Dube at Matapa.
In a curb to assist government to curb the spread of the coronavirus in the country, World Vision Eswatini has donated personal protective equipment to 24 schools under the Stobelweni constituency. According to World Vision project coordinator Nosipho Dlamini, the project, which is funded by the Canadian government, is strictly for assisting schools in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Dlamini was speaking during the presentation of the GTE PPES in Stobelweni.
World Vision Eswatini, in a bid to assist government to curb the spread of the COVID-19, has donated PPE for pupils in 24 schools within Stobelweni constituency, which is meant to ensure that pupils are safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking during the presentation, Nosipho Dlamini, World Vision's project coordinator, says the project of assisting schools is funded by the Canadian government.
The project is funded by the Canadian government in partnership with World Vision Eswatini. The main aim of this project is to curb the spread of COVID-19 virus. Now that schools are opening, as World Vision, we are making it an aim that we provide personal protective equipment for the schools in the community. So this project is targeting two constituencies, which is Mahlangaja and Stobelweni. Today we are presenting personal protective equipment for schools. This include liquid soaps, hand sanitizers, infrared thermometers, and some spray bottles. The rest of the consignment is still to come during the course of the project. The activities that are going to be conducted during this project include provision of hand washing facilities for the schools to ensure that the children are able to wash their hands.
Receiving the PPE on behalf of Stobelweni constituency, Fanyana Mamba says the donation gives them hope that pupils will be in a better position to prevent the spread of the virus. The project will also see COVID-19 schools committee being trained on issues related to the steps they ought to take when a pupil shows signs of being positive to COVID-19. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Themba Shabangu in Stobelweni.
The Eswatini Business Coalition on HIV and AIDS, SWAPCHA, in collaboration with workplace safety firm in Eswatini, Simavshek, has trained 15 professionals who will go around helping companies develop solid COVID-19 risk mitigation plans. The first training session took place at the George Hotel in Manzini.
It was upon realizing the increasing need for workplace wellness and safety amid the outbreak of coronavirus that the Eswatini Business Coalition on HIV and AIDS, SWAPCHA, a few days ago signed a memorandum of understanding with Simavshek, a company that helps other companies and organizations in Eswatini develop workplace safety systems, which will help businesses in the kingdom develop sustainable ways of dealing with the pandemic. SWAPCHA Director Tobile Dlamini says companies need specialized plans of dealing with the pandemic.
We're seeing fear, and if we help companies to implement a management system, it will also manage the fear. People will know what to do, when and how, and it will assign different responsibilities to different people within the chain of the production of the company, so that at the end of the day, production remains viable at all levels, and it will boost our investor and confidence. It will boost even the employees themselves when they know they have a system that can detect my challenges early around COVID-19.
Simavshek Safety, Health, Environment, Risk and Quality Engineer Mavela Sikwane says companies in Eswatini have suffered great losses due to the outbreak of COVID-19.
The losses which are suffered by companies vary from different numbers depending on the scope of the production of each company. But as of yesterday, our numbers were indicating that 20 minutes closure to the medium sector, you're talking losses of 500,000 and beyond, just 20 minutes. Now, if you look at 20 minutes shutdown, total shutdown of the operation, that's significant in terms of losses.
The 15 personnel currently being trained to assist companies with risk mitigation strategies have been drawn from qualified Bachelor of Science University graduates. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Mbongwa Dube, it's Manzini.
The head of programs at the Eswatini National Youth Council, ENYC, Dumzane Smelane, says the council has met with legislators to look at the different types of bills that will favor young people so that they can lobby for their enactment. Smelane said this in an interview with the news team on the day when the world is commemorating World Youth Skills Day.
On July 15th, UN member states joined the global celebrations to mark World Youth Skills Day. The aim of this day is to recognize the strategic importance of equipping young people with skills for employment, decent work and entrepreneurship, and also to highlight the crucial role of skilled youth in addressing current and future global challenges. The head of programs at Eswatini National Youth Council, Dumisani Similani, says the youth is significantly facing challenges on a daily basis, and they are also affected by the COVID-19 because their businesses have been stalled. He says the ENYC has met with legislators to look at the different types of bills that will favor young people so that they can lobby for their enactment.
We are saying as a youth council, we want to push these bills so that they come into law, so that young people will be in the forefront, in the center of development in Eswatini. By doing that, we will see a large proportion of young people that will actually be attracted to continue to pursuing and radically, forcefully making a difference in the socio-economic space.
Young people we spoke to say they are really struggling to make ends meet during this time of the pandemic.
It has just caused some main congestion, especially for going to school, because we have to go to school and get more knowledge on how to do more beautiful things on our businesses. So the closing up of schools just has affected us.
We really struggled concerning buying our stock and finding where we need to buy the things that we needed, because the shops were closed most of the time. But we broke through that struggle, and here we are today, strong and growing.
Reporting, I'm Lungile Makakula with Mbongwa Dube in Manzini.
The Ministry of Health has advised pastors to have thermometer scanners that are used to screen a person's temperature to ensure that all church members are screened before attending a church service when churches resume operations this coming weekend. This was said by Nondabego Dube from the Ministry of Health during a pastors training workshop held in Stegi.
Pastors from different churches in the Lubombo region had a COVID-19 training conducted by the Ministry of Health in readiness of the opening of churches after government announced new guidelines. Speaking during the workshop, Nondobego Dube says the aim of the workshop is to provide pastors with the necessary information on preventing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dube says pastors are encouraged to provide sanitizers, water to their members to wash their hands, and also maintain social distancing.
Social distancing naloko ukuthi bamekishe sure ukuthi they sanitize and wash their hands, because njengoba sesati ukuthi nyalo emasondweni incumbi sekasebenzisa bo mic and lokushare vele le mic kuba khona ukhanze ukuthi mic yinye sompheni, so everyone has to share. So kuthi nje sibahlomise bathi leliqiniso lokuthi ihamba njani eligciwane futhi netindlela abangadivikela ngalo basesekhathi esonpheni. Sifuna ke naloko ukuthi bathi ukuthi kude lokuhlukile lokunganani ngoba sesisekhathi esompheni. Sibhekekile ukuthi sibabone benda labo screening ngokuthi bazalwane basangena ngakhathi. Naloyo longumsolwa sibhekekile ukuthi bathi ukuthi naku sesinayo umsolwa kulisondvo nje sithatha yipi indlela sibhekaphi. Size siyofika emaphethelweni ngokuthi leyo mzalwane noma leso sihlobo noma leyo msolwa agcina atholele isito.
Tapsile Dlamini says the information that they receive will assist them in ensuring that their members are safe from COVID-19.
Siyabongela kakhulu Nkosi yami lokuthi bakhumbule lokusibita njengabafundisi. Batosihlomisa vele ngoba siyafuna vele bazalwane bethe inkonzweni. But ke lo lwati beside kahle. Nyalo lo lwati lese basibitile basiniketa lona. Sicabanga ukuthi selitawusenda ukuthi sichubeke nemsebenzi wenkosi ngoba sidabe sesathi ukuthi yini lesibhekene nayo futhi yendani lento lesibhekene nayo.
New guidelines are expected to come into effect from the 16th of July 2020. For Eswatini TV, Sondomlangeni with Themba Shabangu in Sitegi.
Man Hee, the leader of one of South Korea's biggest churches, Shishanji, has been blamed for spreading COVID-19 in South Korea. Nonetheless, world leaders and other prominent leaders have blamed the South Korean government for this.
Many prominent leaders and dignitaries from all over the world, including South Africa, among others, are speaking out in support of Chairman Man Hee of HWPL. They're asking the Korean government to drop its charges against Shishanji Church regarding COVID-19.
I was thus extremely disturbed to hear of the deplorable actions taken against the chairman after the events that occurred due to the unfortunate COVID-19 outbreak at his church. As members of the HWPL, our primary goal is unity, equality, respect, and tolerance. Only together can we overcome the enormous challenges that we together face.
The blame for the spread of the disease should not be squarely on Chairman Man Hee and his church members. The donation of the plasma from the recovered church members is a reflection of their pure intention of saving lives and should be also considered as a great appreciation to the government and the medical staff that helped the church.
And I'm urging communities, especially in Korea, to listen to his messages and listen to the people that work with him. The world right now needs peace, not fighting among ourselves.
Meanwhile, Chairman Lee continues to encourage members who recovered from COVID-19 to donate their blood plasma. 4,000 recovered Shishanji Church members have volunteered to donate in a hope that it will speed up the development of a treatment for COVID-19. The South Korean government is urged to listen to these voices of reason and rather give their undivided attention to eradicating COVID-19 in South Korea. For Eswatini TV News, I am LinkedIn Gule, visual source from Shishanji Church in South Korea.
The chairperson of the handcrafters market based in Eswatini, Elizabeth Mazibugo, says COVID-19 has affected them in a major way as their biggest clients, which are tourists, are unable to support them at the moment. She says they have doubts that the situation will normalize any sooner, but they will open their businesses depending on the level of demand of their products.
Last month, the Prime Minister announced that on the 15th of June, government will relax the partial lockdown regulations and more businesses such as salons, bottle stores and handcraft centers will reopen. On the day of the reopening of the businesses, the news team visited the Eswatini Handcraft Center to assess the situation on the first day of business. The handcrafters said although they decided to open that day, they had doubts that they would be able to make profits because their biggest clients are tourists and they are unable to support them during this time. They said they are unable to make ends meet as they last made profits last year, December. The news team visited them again on Wednesday to ascertain the situation and all the stalls were vacant. Speaking to the chairperson on the phone, she says they open when they have requests from customers.
Siyaqhuba mphana nje kuphela kokuthi solo vele kuyafitsitela ngaloko ukuthi amapotagate soloko akavulwa.
We have mixed feelings on reopening our businesses because our major clientele is not able to support us at the moment. But what can we do? We are forced to come here every other day in case there are customers who come through. All we can do for now is only hope that Eswatini will come and support us, probably buy brooms or mats and other products they may need.
She says they will remain optimistic that the situation will normalize, but in the meanwhile, they will continue to run their businesses. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Mbongwa Dube at Eswatini.
And now we will take a look at our sports news. The Eswatini Olympics Movement Association's Chief Executive Officer, Sydney Smelane, says they have decided to host a workshop for its employees about the coronavirus so that they may be safe and also for the safety of those people using their offices. Smelane was speaking to journalists from this broadcaster.
After the Eswatini government allowed sporting courts classified under low risk to spread the coronavirus to return to the field of play, the Eswatini Olympics Movement Association also opened their offices. The association hosted a workshop for its employees to teach them about the virus so that they may be safe while at work. The Chief Executive Officer of the association, Sydney Smelane, explained what they have done in preparation for the opening of their offices.
As an organization, we had to gear ourselves accordingly to be able to serve our clients. And some of the critical things that we embarked on was to invest in the correct equipment, PPE equipment rather, and then subsequently we needed to train ourselves or our staff in order to be able to service our clients that obviously now will be coming through following the partial release or permission to allow certain sporting activities to take place.
Smelane says when their employees are safe, it will also mean that everyone using their services will also be safe. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Mbabane.
The Angling Association of Eswatini says they will not be having any more games this year. Wimpy Bawa, speaking on behalf of the association, says they will be using this time to concentrate on developing the sport in the country.
The government of Eswatini allowed sporting courts that are classified as low risk to return to action. The Eswatini Angling Association has, however, decided that they won't be having any games this calendar year. Wimpy Power, speaking on behalf of the association, says they will instead use this time to develop the sport by teaching young kids.
Well, as the Angling Association, we've made a decision to say that let's just hang tight, take our lines out the water, and just wait for what's about to happen and what's about to pass, and we will take this year and we'll put postpone it until next year. I think it's important for us to make sure that we look after each other and we take care in this difficult times. No, the formal angling will definitely stop, but our focus will be to do some development with the juniors and make it a fun event, and hopefully we'll grow the sport that way.
Power concluded by encouraging their players to continue taking care of themselves and practice for the following year, as they will have more competitions to play. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msivi. Mbabane.
Before we wrap up our bulletin, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. The European Union has donated over 46 million emalangeni to the Kingdom of Eswatini. The Eswatini Schools Wireless Broadband project has been officially launched. The Minister of Natural Resources says it is pleasing that schools in the Shiselweni region have ticked all the boxes in the COVID-19 compliance checklist. That is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.
We've been drifting, lost at sea. You're so far.
Bring the